A very warm welcome to BW Marketing World, Gunjan.
Thank you so much. Thank you to BW for the invite, and so glad to see you.
Thank you.
And looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. So, as I was researching for this interview, I learned that Perfetti is completing 30 years of its operations in India. Take me through some of the big wins and the lessons learned in the past 3 decades, and how are you looking at the next decade to unfold for you?
Yeah, so it's been a very, very interesting journey. Honestly, 30 years is not easy. Someone yesterday in a meeting was telling me the brands that used to exist 30 years back no longer probably even exist. So it's a testament of the power of some of the brands that we have built and the power of the organization and the culture and the values that we are still here and doing so well. We were basically an outsider that entered India, and today we are the market leader in confectionery. It speaks volumes of the kind of talent and the kind of investment we have done in India and our understanding of the Indian consumer. So I mean, there's been lots of hits and misses, and there are things we have done right and equal number of things that we have done wrong. But I think there are some of the principles that have worked very well for us is a deep understanding of Indian consumers. Okay, food is a very, very personal and very cultural thing. To be able to understand what a palate is for a consumer is super important.
Sure.
And that is one thing that the people who preceded me did very, very well in the last 30 years, right? So a good understanding of the consumer would be the first thing I think that held us in good stead. The second thing is essentially a relentless focus on innovation.
Sure.
Okay, this is a category where people look for experiences.
Sure.
And with Perfetti and with our access to global pipeline and global technology, we've been able to bring new concepts to India and really transform the Indian business. The third thing is affordability. And when I say affordability, I don't mean price, okay? But I mean value. To deliver a certain benefit, a certain experience at the right price has been one of the core strengths for the organization, and that has held us for 30 years. And the fourth, but not the last thing, is accessibility. Being able to drive distribution, build distribution for the organization has been a key strength of us. FMCG, for your awareness, goes to about 12 million outlets. We go to, all our brands combined, we go to almost 5 million outlets.
Okay.
That makes us one of the best distributed FMCG brands in India. So all these 3-4 things have come together for us to help build a robust, a profitable and a sustainable business, which allows us to bring good, great, fantastic products to our consumers. The next 10 years, 20 years look equally exciting to us. There's a lot of transformation happening in India, and we want to actually enable some of these transformation and bring some of the learnings into the organization. We are setting up the right culture, the need for agility. We are looking at technology and how can technology be incorporated in the experiences. How do we bring new products for our consumers, whether it's a tennis ball gum, whether it's a Mentos roll or a globally recognized Mentos Pure Fresh chewing gum, whether it's Chupa Chup range, okay, which is our global acquisition which we launched in India in 2016, is doing fantastically well for us. So there's a whole lot of things that we are focusing on going forward, and we are super excited about the future, and I think Perfetti will continue to do well and continue to serve our consumers in the best way possible we can.
Okay, great. You just mentioned that understanding of the consumer is pivotal for any business for that matter. Can you take me through the profiles of, the consumers that typically interact with you? What are the traits that they exhibit, and how do you navigate the varied cultural nuances and, the taste profiles of these consumers at Perfetti?
Yeah, so unfortunately I don't have a standard answer to this, and the reason being we have about 8 brands. Okay, and every brand has a different target group. Okay, so we have got brands like Alpenlibe that works across family. Okay, then we have got Chupa Chup, which is more towards teens. Okay. We have got Alpenlibe Just Jelly that is more kid focused, right? So we focus on the brand objectives, and we have a very clear target group in mind, and we understand the social, functional, and emotional drivers of consumption, right? And that therefore drives whatever action we take, right?
Can you also take me through your rural and urban penetration as well as your numbers online and offline, and have these patterns or trends really evolved or taken a different form post the pandemic?
Yeah. We don't unfortunately measure rural penetration. Okay. But urban penetration is quite significant, but it actually varies depending on the category. Okay. So confection is not one category, it is a combination of categories. So you've got something called a hard-boiled candy. Okay. That is the most penetrated category. Right? It has almost 80% urban penetration. On the other hand, you've got something called a soft mint, like Center Fresh Mints, which is just about 20% penetration. Right? So penetration does vary across, and therefore the brand task changes. Okay. In a highly penetrated category, you want to drive consumption. Okay. For example, gums is a 65% penetration category.
Okay.
And there the real unlock and the marginal utility of your effort is much higher if you drive consumption. We are one of the lowest consumption gums category in the world.
Okay.
Okay. US or UK is almost 6 to 7 times bigger than us. So that is where the meat on the bone is, right? On a low penetration category like soft mints, the job is to really drive penetration. So that's broadly how we look at urban penetration and the variance of the urban penetration. Online, offline, I think primarily our business today is offline. Okay. But that is one thing that we are headstrong wanting to change.
Okay.
Right. And that is one thing we learned as part of pandemic, that e-commerce and availability in online stores and non-offline formats is going to be critical for success.
That's right.
In the future. We are relatively small. Part of the reason is how the category is. Okay, it's not an urgent category, it's an impulse category. Right? And the second thing is it's a low unit price category. So no one's going to order online for a 2 rupee chewing gum, argument's sake. So it's always an addition to a basket.
That's true.
Right? Yes. It's not an independent price. So that has historically restricted the online presence of this category. But then there are many levers that we can push to kind of move the needle forward. We are sub 10. We definitely want to reach at least 10 as the first milestone, and then we see how we move from there.
Okay, can you explain to me the challenges that hover over an industry like this one, which is of course, as you mentioned, an impulse category, and how do you navigate these at Perfetti?
There are a few challenges or opportunities, the way you look at it, honestly. One thing is the fact that it's an impulse category. Okay, so how do you trigger top of mind for continuously for this impulse category, which has implications from an above the line perspective? What does your media need to do? How does your media need to be? How does your comms need to be? Okay, that's one part. The other part is in-store execution. Where are you present? Are you present on the cash till? Are you present on the shelf? So how do you drive impulse? Okay, so that's one piece of the challenge that we navigate, or the opportunity that we unlock. The second opportunity is essentially about the fact that currently this category is structured more around 50 paise and 1 rupee, right? Which in a highly inflationary environment becomes very difficult for a business to sustain.
Correct.
So how do you really upgrade and uptrade a consumer to higher value propositions? Okay, what is the role of innovation in that, what is the role of distribution in that, right? So these are some of the questions that we dabble with.
Sure.
And the journey towards some of these answers have already started 5 years back. We used to be very small in terms of high value proposition contribution. Today it's almost 1/3 of our business, right? And thanks to our sales team, thanks to our marketing team, we've been able to drive the navigation.
Okay.
It's a journey, it's not the end point. We are looking at much higher contribution. So increasingly, as we see, with affordability rising, with experience being more democratized for Indian consumer, with knowledge sharing happening so easily through digital, and with travel becoming more affordable, people will want international experiences, better experiences, more richer experiences, and that is where the real unlock in driving this category is.
Sure. And how do you strategize your communication part so that it breaks through the clutter in the market as well as give you a competitive advantage? And is there any brand that you feel is your competition? Would you like to name a brand? I don't want to put you in a spot, but who do you feel is your competition? Number one.
There is always a competition. I think there are many good brands out there, and there is some fantastic work happening in the market. Competition is, either I can define it as a company or a brand, or I can define it as a category. Technically, a competition, we are in a sweet confectionery category. Competition for me is also sweets that Indians consume, right?
That's true.
How do I get into those occasions, right? Competition for me is, for argument's sake, also chocolate, okay, which is much more prevalent, right? So I think the lens that we use is to see what are the occasions that we can be relevant in, and what are the occasions where we have therefore a right to win. Okay, and that defines how we frame our competitive landscape. Okay, whether it's a brand, whether it's a category, or whether it's a larger cultural practice, right? So that's how we define competition.
Sir, can you also take me through your marketing plans for this year, and will we see an increase in your marketing budget for 24?
I think we've got some super exciting ideas lined up for our consumers this year. A lot of innovation. We are an organization that is built on innovation. We believe in innovation. Relentless innovation is one of our values.
Okay.
Right. So we'll continue to innovate. There's some exciting new ideas out there across all our 8 brands, and a plethora of new launches that we have planned as soon as early next month. Unfortunately, I can't divulge too much detail for it, but all I can promise is we'll continue to stretch ourselves and bring the best ideas and the best technology for our consumers to elevate their experiences and their moods throughout the year.
Okay.
In terms of marketing expenditure, I think it's a cluttered market, whether it's TV, whether it's online, plus it's a highly fragmented across platform market. So we do a lot of good strategic work with our agency to identify how do we allocate money across platforms, and that work is happening as we speak today. We believe in the India story, and to that extent we continue to over-invest in India, and that also reflects in our media plans and our media investments.
Sure. If you could give me a sense of your premiumization journey now, how do you ensure that the right value is delivered with the right price pack architecture?
Premiumization journey for us started about 5 years back. In 2018, we did a massive demand space work, and that kind of unlocked some spaces for us. That's when we decided that we need to move to more premium experiences, higher price points. When we started this journey, we were about 5% in a non rupee 1 pricing.
Okay.
Today as we speak, it's almost close to about 1/3 of our business.
Okay.
We continue to push boundaries, and we have an ambition to go much beyond this. Some of the principles that we use in this is essentially finding the right product innovation that can command that premium, and what is the value that we are delivering to our consumers. We launched something called a tennis ball last year in 2022, which was very popular. It was a breakthrough chewing gum shaped like a tennis ball with a really good splash of pineapple flavor juice inside. So that's one example of how we deliver a proposition at 2x the price of where the category sits today.
True, true.
We have got Mentos rolls, which is at 10 rupees, which is well accepted by consumers. We are experimenting with many new formats and many different pricing. Some work, some don't work, and that's part of life. So we have a very, very clear plan to unlock premiumization by delivering great innovations and making those innovations accessible to consumers through superior distribution.
Sure. So Perfetti, as we all know, is one of the few brands that enjoys exceptional brand identity and customer loyalty. What does it take to position a brand like that and also ensure that this strengthens with time?
Yeah, I think a short answer would be blood, sweat and tears. Okay. And I've been lucky enough that all my predecessors had already put in that, so I'm basically reaping a lot of that benefit. I think essentially having a very, very clear strategy in place, which is built on a strong consumer understanding, right? We have 8 brands, and all 8 of these brands are positioned in a unique space. And that's a lot of, it sounds simple, but it's a lot of hard work, a lot of debate, a lot of discussion, a lot of experimentations that have failed, and a few that have worked, and that's why we are where we are, right? So I think identifying what does a brand stand for, what is the difference it makes in a consumer's life, and therefore what is the role we can assign to this brand, and how do we keep driving that role and that positioning in everything we do, whether it's communication, whether it's media, whether it's activation, whether it's GTM, and most importantly, whether it's innovation and the product portfolio we offer. Right? So broadly, that would be my answer.
Okay, my last question for you is your interest as an individual go beyond marketing. So I know you are an investor, you are a mentor, and also on the advisory board of CII and MMA. How do you manage to don so many hats at the same time? And you're also a wonderful parent. So how do you don all the caps at the same time?
I don't work. Who told you that I work? Just kidding. I think a part of that is how you manage your team. I'm a strong believer in delegation and unlocking potential of people. And I've been fortunate enough to have that clarity at a very young age of what is important and urgent, what needs to be done by you and what needs to be done by the team. And that is something that I continue to practice.